Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be reviewing the Thunderbolts. I'm going to go over the good, the bad, and some things that I wasn't really happy with in the movie. Spoilers, obviously. Sorry, I'm not giving you guys much time for this one, but this movie was really good, so let's start with the good. The cast was phenomenal. One of, if not the best ensemble cast that Marvel has made of just everybody coming together, you know, just doing their thing. It was awesome to see Bucky returning, Yelena getting more of a spotlight and fleshing out her character, Red Guardian getting his character fleshed out, Ghost, Taskmaster, not so much, but you know, we'll get into that later. And John Walker, who I feel outside of Yelena was the MVP of this movie. He had a really good story arc, and getting to have him fleshed out a little bit from when we last see him in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. His comedic timing was great. You want to hate him because he's an ass to Bob, who we are going to get into in a second, but he's so good. He's so good. And Robert, aka Sentry, his actor, who I don't believe I've seen in anything else, was great. That guy was killing it. His shift between the mild-mannered Bob to this over-the-top megalomaniacal guy as Sentry, and then this very dark, depressing Void was really good. And he plays all three of these different personalities really well. I don't want to compare him to Oscar Isaac in Moon Knight, but he's the only other person in the MCU that I can really compare it to. But he just plays all these roles really well. And it was very apparent, like during the movies, like it wasn't like a weird shift. Like it felt natural for the character when he feels a certain way when he's talking as Bob and when he was doing his stuff as Sentry. And, you know, it was very obvious when he was the Void, but just the distinguishing, you know, the voicing, the acting, that all was very distinctive for each character, and I think that actor played everything beautifully. The story of the Thunderbolts I wasn't originally super excited about, just because I felt like it was going to be a filler episode in a sense of, you know, we have all this stuff coming and we're just gonna throw this movie out just so that way somebody can watch something until Fantastic Four comes out. But truthfully, this movie was way better than some of the stuff we've gotten in the past couple years. This movie far exceeds my ranking of Captain America Brave New World. I really enjoyed this. This was a way better film than, you know, some of the other stuff we've gotten in the past couple years. You know, the Eternals, Black Widow, Marvels. I think that this movie was executed almost perfectly, and all these characters coming together was a really good choice by Marvel. I do really wish that they had been given a little bit more time with Sebastian Stan's Bucky. I really wish we had just a little bit more time. Bucky is on this weird area in his life where now, instead of just punching and shooting things, he is attempting to become a politician and, you know, fix things through the legal system, and then he falls back into punching and shooting things. A little bit of a nitpick, but I wanted to see Bucky punching and shooting things, and maybe that's wrong of me because that's what we've seen him do almost every appearance he's had in the MCU. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I do appreciate that they did try to do something different with this character. I do think that showing a mature Bucky was a good move, showing that he is trying to move on past the supervillain, assassin, and now superhero lifestyle. But it dragged him back in some way, probably the best way that they could possibly do it. But I liked it. Ghost in this movie. Ghost comes from Ant-Man and the Wasp. That was the last time we saw her. And while I haven't watched Ant-Man and the Wasp in a really long time, I really did like her character in this. She has probably the least amount of development in this film, outside of the main two, Yelena and Bucky. I would say that she would be the last person on the list of development, so to say, but her character served a purpose. It was there in the beginning of the film when John Walker and Yelena and Bob are stuck in Val's attempt to kill them all, she goes and she's able to show off her powers a little more, especially in the earlier scenes with some fight scenes that go on between them all. It's really great. I thought that it was fantastic to have somebody with some type of powers in the film. Granted, it is a suit, but when you have two super soldiers and then you add a third one with Bucky when he joins in, and then you have Yelena who's just an assassin, it was nice to have somebody that, you know, had some type of extra thing going on. Doesn't really matter toward the end with Sentry joining the cast, but you know, her power served a purpose when it did. Red Guardian David Harbour is the funniest character in this film. I think that David Harbour does the best job with his comedic timing. I will be honest, didn't really get through Black Widow. I know, watch out. But I do like David Harbour. I think he's a phenomenal actor, and in this role, I really liked it. My one nitpick for him was there was no shield. There was no Red Guardian shield. I was really sort of hoping that it was in the film, and maybe he lost it in the beginning of the film, and that's why he doesn't have it, but he's shieldless, and John Walker has his fake Captain America shield. He's the only one doing all that Captain America-esque stuff, but it was nice. I think that either way, it didn't really need to have like a specific weapon to him. He was just kind of using his brute strength and picking things up and throwing things at people, which is hilarious, you know, and I think that it fit David Harbour and the character really well. Like, you know, he didn't have to have this one thing. He's just using whatever was at his disposal to attack people, and it wasn't a bad character decision at all. I truthfully love the Red Guardian in this. Yelena, the heart and soul of this movie. Now, like I said, was not the biggest fan of Black Widow, didn't really get too much into it. Watched her for a little bit for the Hawkeye show. I wasn't really super convinced. I really liked her dynamic between her and Haley Steinfeld's Kate Bishop, but, you know, we had just gotten over losing Black Widow, and honestly, I wasn't really kind of hoping to really get connected to this character. I really didn't see much potential in this character, just because of the way they had kind of set her up, but she is the beating heart of this film. She carries this movie and carries these characters together to the finish line, and this team of people that she's got, it's really nice to see her kind of more fleshed out, more vulnerable, I think, than what we've seen some of the other characters that we've gotten in the MCU, especially comparing her to her sister. We didn't really get too much of this vulnerability that we see in Yelena than we did with Natasha. I think that, you know, if you use Age of Ultron kind of as an example, you know, it's alluded to certain things. They show little bits and clips of stuff, but, you know, I think really showing off Yelena as like she was put into this position as an assassin really young, and you see how much it destroys her mentally, knowing and looking back on her life, and seeing how much of a toll it took on her. We didn't really see that with Natasha's Black Widow at all. So it was really nice to get through those kind of character moments with her and some of the other characters and be able to really like flesh her out and, you know, show like, hey, she's not just this Black Widow clone. She's actually super dynamic. She's just super important to this story. And she's got a lot more than just being the Black Widow clone or Black Widow 2. Bob, the Sentry. He wasn't super comedic. He had his funny moments that would switch into like really sad moments because of how the character is. You know, he's kind of this lovable oaf that is just super depressive all the time. As the film progresses and, you know, he goes from bonding with Yelena and the Thunderbolts in the beginning of the movie when he gets abducted and then turned into Sentry in the middle of the movie, and then he goes on this power trip and he gets killed, and then the Void takes over. Then it's this evil, depressive presence that you knew was lurking in the background of the movie. You knew something was off with Bob. He just puts it all on full display, and he gets absolutely crazy toward the end of the movie. I truthfully loved knowing like nothing about how they were going to play this character and how the Thunderbolts were going to beat Void. I loved the way they did it, not having to fight and punch through everything, but having this heart to heart, this character moment of, okay, well, you are not alone. No one's alone. And that tagline really stuck throughout the whole film, where these people who were used by Val to try and, get her deeds done, who were almost killed because of her, coming together and forming this found family, and everybody kind of realizing that they've been alone in the past, but they're not alone anymore. And I thought that was really sweet, and it showed more in the development of Yelena and Bob's relationship and how Bob's story ends in the film more than anybody else. But it was a really good tagline just throughout the film, and that all of the characters really played into that sort of feeling, and I truthfully loved and appreciated every second of it. I almost cried twice during this film. It really hard to hear some of the stuff that went on, but to relate to certain things that they were saying in the film and certain feelings that characters are going to in the film, it was a little bit cathartic and nice to kind of feel like, even though they're written this way, it's weird to kind of hear somebody feeling the way that I could feel sometimes. And it was super nice. We get some questions answered that we haven't really gotten answers to in the past couple of movies that the MCU has put out, so I want to go over those real quick before we kind of get into the quote-unquote bad. We found out who bought Avengers Tower, and it was Val. I feel like a lot of people saw that coming, especially in the last couple weeks, because Marvel put out a clip for the Thunderbolts where Val is confronted by the Thunderbolts, and it is kind of obvious, in my opinion, it was obvious that they were in Avengers Tower, or I guess now the Watchtower, as Val called it in the film. I guess it's funny that she's the one that bought it. I guess it kind of made sense in a way with how she was coming up in the films, her little cameos and little side things that she was doing. It kind of felt like there was going to be more to just her being around. Like she had to have had a base of operations, and it was nice to get that answer. On top of that, we get to see just where we are going with the MCU moving forward. We get to see some of this Doom hype, I guess, come to life in the post-end credit scene. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous still. I'm not gonna hold you. And this is where we get into the bad part of the film. Now, Marvel has had a problem with how they end their movies and TV shows in the recent years, and it is not a bad ending by any means whatsoever, but it is an ending that left me questioning, why was this the ending? So here's the major boiler review thingy-mabob. Sound the alarm. Once Void is defeated, the Thunderbolts want to go after Val. Val is standing on the side. She's on the phone with somebody. Bucky and Red Guardian lead the way to try and arrest Val with the other Thunderbolts. And as they go and Val goes through this little covered area and they come out the other side, it's a press release. And Val lies to the press and says that she's been working on making a new super team for threats such as the Void. And she announces to the world that the Thunderbolts are now the new Avengers. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why don't you like this ending? Hasn't this whole big mess been because there hasn't been an Avengers team? And you'd be right, but let's not forget, we just got out of a film, Captain America: Brave New World, where Sam was supposed to put together a new team of Avengers. So what is happening with that? And we get our answer not 15 minutes later in the post-credit scene. But we're gonna get to that in 2 seconds. The new Avengers are announced. Yelena whispers to Val that they own her now, and Yelena takes a deep breath, realizing that this is what she wanted, to be a hero all along. Now, the mid-credit scene is just a little comedic scene with David Harbour, so I'm not really going to get too much into it. You'll probably see it on social media in the next couple of days, so I'll ignore that for now. But the end credit scene picks up 14 months after the end of Thunderbolts. The team is in full swing as the quote-unquote new Avengers, and it's revealed that they are getting sued by Sam, Wilson because he wanted to be the Avengers leader. Bucky says that he had a conversation with Sam and it did not go well. And Yelena and Ghost, Walker, and Red Guardian have a conversation about them and their publicity and them being sued because they are the new Avengers. All of that culminates in a alert coming through that there is an extraterrestrial or extra dimensional ship coming into orbit. Yelena pulls footage, puts it on the big screen, and sure enough, who comes flying in? The Fantastic Four's ship. And I hated that shit. I'm not gonna lie, that sucked to see because I feel like I know what's gonna happen in Fantastic Four now. It doesn't matter what actually happens in the movie. Now my reality is no longer suspended. I know that at one point in the movie, they have to leave their world to come to Earth 616, and now they have to do something to prepare for Doom, which, judging from the trailers, and I might be wrong, I don't think Doom is gonna be a part of this movie. It seems too big of a film with too much going on to have Silver Surfer, Galactus, and then Doom in this film. I feel like it's just too much to carry for a film like that, and I don't think that they want it to be super stuffed of a film either. I think they know that a lot is riding on this since this is the last movie that we're gonna get before Doomsday. So I'm a little upset that they made their, I guess, first MCU appearance in an end credit scene for the Thunderbolts. I think that it would have just been better to kind of have the story somewhat self-contained just till we get to Fantastic Four, because truthfully, how is this going to connect? How does this move into the playing field of, okay, the Thunderbolts now know that the Fantastic Four are here. They don't know that they're the Fantastic Four, but they know something's coming. And what does that mean for the story moving forward? How does this all connect? And where do we go from here? Truthfully, I think that it just was a waste of time to have that post-credit in the movie. And if I were making decisions over at Marvel, I don't think I would have put that in there. I think I would have left it at just trying to figure out where the new Avengers go from there, which also the new Avengers, I truthfully think, have a better lineup than the Avengers right now, because Sam has only one member of the Avengers team, and that is Falcon. And truthfully, it's a little tedious to, go back and forth. I get it, but if Sam was really a friend, he would have just asked to join their team so that way they can do stuff. But I think that he thought that he was going to be leading the team, and I'm more than sure that's why they made that character moment happen of this is now where we're at, that Sam is upset that Bucky is part of the new Avengers after Bucky was trying to just do politics. I think at the end of the day, this movie was great. I think that it really boosted morale going into Fantastic Four. I feel like truthfully, if Marvel did not make this movie and they went from Brave New World to Fantastic Four, I think it would have hurt the Fantastic Four box office and polls, because Brave New World was a terrible film. It was not good, especially compared to this movie. This movie outshines Brave New World completely, and it's very apparent in the way that the characters act and the characters act amongst each other and just the overall feeling of a team. And I feel like that's what the MCU really needed, like some people to latch on to, and I think that it worked out in their favor. But this is my review of Thunderbolts. I can't wait to hear what you guys think. I will be reviewing Fantastic Four. I'm sorry I haven't uploaded. I was going to review Daredevil Born Again, but truthfully, that ending did not sit right with me, and it kind of just took away all my excitement to review it. But I will try to get more reviews out for you guys so you guys can hear in on my opinions. I hope you have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.